Anita Anand and Chris Mason as presenters on one of my favourite programmes, Any Answers. My name's Mike Cashman. If you find these videos interesting or useful, please subscribe to the channel. I'm making this little comparison of the experience of phoning in to Anita Anand and Chris Mason because I thought there probably won't be that many people who've had an extended conversation with each of them on the programme, and listeners can comment on how a particular programme came over. It's only the caller that knows what the caller actually wanted to say, as opposed to what actually came out on the air. Well, the caller and maybe the producer who has a chat with the caller beforehand. So my experience with Anita Anand and Chris Mason is slightly different, and it is a subtle difference. So what I felt with Anita is she was certainly prepared to be devil's advocate, but she listened to the points that I was making, and given those points, was prepared to put a question or to put an alternative viewpoint. Say, people listening to this might think this. How do you respond to that? We had a conversation May the 15th about COVID, the Delta variant, which I said we should be worried about at that point. Anita said, for example, what about the argument that the people affected in a later pandemic would be mostly young people who are more resilient? And I was able to respond to that to say, well, there may not be tens of thousands of serious cases, but there could be thousands, and we should want to prevent that. So Anita's approach, as I say, was to take my points and to put the devil's advocate arguments in response to those points. Chris Mason and the most recent Any Answers, and I do appreciate Chris was standing in for Anita, and I'm glad that he did. I'm glad that the programme went ahead when Anita was on holiday or wherever. But Chris, I felt that your approach in Any Answers was a little bit like your approach in Any Questions. So, you were prepared to, given that I was talking about Afghanistan, you said, well, effectively, here are my questions about Afghanistan. Should we have gone in the first place? And that's fair enough. But it's a different approach. It's saying, rather than pursuing the line of argument that you've opened up with, I'd like to put a different point to you about the same subject area, which, as I say, is subtly different to Anita's. Now, I'm the caller. I'm not the most important person in this. The most important people in this exercise, it's not me or Chris or Anita or Kirsty, the producer. Most important people are the listeners. So did you notice that difference in approach? If so, do you have opinions on which you prefer? And Anita, thanks for your work on the programme. Chris, thanks for stepping in too. If this is considered to be a little bit of a challenge, I'm sure that you don't object to a little bit of a challenge, and take it as, whether you take notice of it or not, but take it as constructive suggestions from my perspective. That's it. I'm Mike Cashman. If you find this useful, please subscribe to the channel.